guys, it's Candace from Begin Help Books. I'm here today with a kind of currently reading video. I do want to make a video about what I finished reading that was nonfiction, that was not nonfiction in November. I haven't gotten a chance yet. So I'm in the midst of a bunch of library holds becoming available, and so I'm reading quite a few books at the same time, and I think I'm going to give up on a few books. So just wanted to let you know. The first book I want to talk about, which I finished last night, was An Echo of Things to Come by James Islington. This is the second book in the Licanius trilogy. I did this as a buddy read with Mel, Cheryl, and Dee. And just like the first book, we absolutely enjoyed this book so much. This book is unlike any other fantasy book I've ever really read. I felt the same desire to read this book as I did Mistborn, but I feel like it's faster moving than Mistborn. It's more about the plot and action than Mistborn. And it's funny because James Islington, here, it says he was born and raised in southern Victoria, Australia, an avid fantasy reader for many years. It was only when he read Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series that he was finally inspired to write something of his own. So I can't believe that. Like, Mistborn made him write this, and I can see a lot of similarities to Mistborn, but we follow four main characters, the same four characters we followed in the first book, and of course we are further along in their journey against these sort of, as Mel calls them, baddies. So there's some baddies on the other side of the boundary. Similar to Game of Thrones, there is a boundary in the north, and it's breaking down. And so our four main characters are trying to prevent that from happening. Each of them has something different, a different gift about them, but they're all main and critical to the story. It's so good. I highly recommend. If you like fantasy, I would definitely read this book. The only bad thing is that the third book comes out in fall of next year, so we all will be anxiously waiting. The book I'm reading is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. This is a Goodreads group book I'm reading with a blast from the past. So it's typically historical fiction books, and I'm about a little over halfway done. This book, it's just so delicious. Like, the writing, I get Towles. Like, I want to read everything Towles has written now because it's just delicious. I have to savor this book. This Count is sort of a political prisoner in a hotel in the middle of Russia. The beginning kind of gives his backstory and what he does at the hotel, the people he meets there. There's some main characters that he more frequently interacts with. But we're starting to get into some of the political parts of the book, which is great. I mean, that's what I want. I want to read about the history and the political going on in this time. I think we start in 1936, and I'm currently in 1946. So this Count, though, is a gentleman, and he has this fine taste, and he loves, to make sure that the seating is just right at the restaurant, at the hotel, and particularly certain foods are just so, even though during this time people are without, a lot of food items because it's a really tough time. I am really enjoying this book, and I think I will do a full review when I'm done. The next book I'm reading is, I picked up Upstream, Selected Essays by Mary Oliver. This, I thought I'd try and finish before the end of November. It's a small book, but it's a collection of essays that Mary Oliver has written. Mary Oliver tends to write a lot about nature and things, and I really, really am liking it. So this is my first true Mary Oliver read and my first essays reading, and I'm enjoying it very much so. She has the books written, or the book broken up into certain sections. First, there was like her experiences out in nature, which I really liked. Another section where she's talking about particular authors that I think have impacted her. So far, I think we read about Edgar Allan Poe, which was very timely since I just finished that book. Whitman. She mentions a lot about Emerson. So I'm really, really enjoying that book and look forward to telling you more when I finish. Two other books that came available at my library was Origin by Dan Brown. I was shocked because the wait list was so long for this. But this is the Robert Langdon number 5 book. And this book, I know not everybody loves Dan Brown, but I do enjoy his books. I like the fast pace of them. This has a similar storyline as to the other books, following Robert Langdon, who is in trouble. He is out on the loose with a woman again. She is the future Queen of Spain, so this takes place in Spain this time, and it has a lot to do with religion, art, and symbols, same as the other books. This book I am really enjoying because I have been to Spain and I did see some of the art that they were talking about, as well as went to Gaudi's lived, and it's just a quick read. I'm over halfway done with that, and it's, I know what I'm gonna get, and it's entertainment. The other book is The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden, and I'm 15% into this book, and I think so far it deserves all the hype that it's gotten this year. And the reason I did pick up this book was I did get the second book, A Girl in the Tower, out on NetGalley, so I wanted to read this. But it's a timely reading with being based in Russia and a wintry time like it is outside right now. It's kind of got a fairy tale feel to it. I've seen comparisons to Naomi Novik's Uprooted. I read the book. I think this book is better. Just my opinion. I did finish an audiobook this week. It was called Dear Fahrenheit 451, A Librarian's Love Letters and Breakup Notes, The Books in Her Life by Annie Spence. This was great. I mean, this was entertainment as well. This is a librarian who's cultivating her library where she works. I think also some of her personal books, but she's getting rid of the books. And they're not all books that, like, you've never heard. They're mostly books that you have heard of, but there's some that you haven't, and I still enjoyed it. Sometimes books are taken off the shelf because they're too well read and they're falling apart, so things like that. But her narration of this was spectacular and hilarious. Like, letter she wrote to Twilight, I really, really enjoyed that. I think the description summarizes this accurately. It's called a Gen X's librarian snarky, laugh out loud funny, deeply moving collection of love letters and breakup notes to the books in her life. So if you're looking for something, it was like a 5-hour something audiobook that's funny, and I was listening to this as I was walking, and I would literally laugh out loud. It was nice to take a little break from the nonfiction audio I usually listen to and lightened it up. The other 2 books that I'm thinking, just because it's so busy and I've been moving around so much and traveling, it's just easier for me to mostly read ebook, is, guys, if I don't read this by tomorrow, I think I'm going to return Glasstown Game. I love Catherynne and Valente. There's no draw for me for this book. I'm kind of lost in the story. It's almost too fantastical for me for right now, and I don't know if that's because I just got out of nonfiction November and there's just too much going on. The illustrations in here are spectacular, and maybe if you are, I think this is obviously more middle grade, so someone like that might enjoy it. There are a lot of made up words, and usually I like that, but for some reason it's bothering me this time. I think it's because there's 12 soldiers we're following, and it's just too many for me. So I'm contemplating just trying to skim this to the end and returning it. And then the other book, which is spectacular, is Shirley Jackson, A Rather Haunted Life by Ruth Franklin. I picked this up for Nonfiction November. And because I have been traveling so much, I just never got to it. This also has illustrations in it. And it's ones that Shirley Jackson did. So she's quite the little creator. They're mostly stick figures. There's also pictures. I very much enjoyed the story. I just don't have the time right now. And with Christmas coming, my sister's getting married, we're moving. I think I might return this and pick it up either through ebook or audio, and maybe in a little bit I'll have a little bit more gumption to get through it. So that's what's on my currently reading shelf. I'd love to, just finish up some of these books that before the end of the year that I'm currently in the middle of. So I never finished The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and I really loved it. So I want to finish that one. And I never finished An Instance of the Finger Post. So I'd love to finish those two if I can. But I really haven't made a TBR for myself besides reading what I just told you in our Read Around the World Book Club book, Against All Odds, for this month. It's just busy and, so anyways, let me know how you're handling the holidays with reading and what your favorite book you have read so far in December is.